I'm not joking when I say I believe 2025 Contender Series is the best lineup of fights the Contender Series have ever put on. I'm so serious. And they haven't even filled out week 9 and week 10. The lineups they have for Contender Series this year is absolutely insane. So we're going to be doing predictions every single week for the next 10 weeks for Dana White's Contender Series. Haven't done this yet on the channel. In past years, we've just thrown this in with the Fight Night cards or the pay-per-view cards. I'm doing separate videos for Contender Series this year, obviously, because we're here on Greedo Plays MMA. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button down below for more UFC, PFL, Contender Series content. Right now, again, going forward, I'm probably going to do Tuesday mornings for these predictions, but I might switch it to Saturdays. Just don't know the timing and whatnot when I should post these. Again, this video is going out early in the morning. If you want to see it on a different day, let me know in the comment section down below. But again, this year is loaded on the Contender. Real quickly, week 7... Brayan Zurcher versus Mirzatali Magomedov, the Octagon champion versus undefeated Zurcher from PFL, 9-0 versus 9-0. They've got some crazy fights this year, man. And they've got good fighters from the PFL and Bellator who PFL just wasn't able to retain. I mean, there's a bunch of guys from Bellator that the PFL just wasn't able to sign back, and they're a bunch of young up-and-coming prospects. There's so many good fighters. I mean, you know, you got guys like Manuel Sosa, you've got a Josh Hokett, you've got a Chanel Dyer. Like, there are good fighters on the Contender this year, and boy am I excited. So before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. On Greedo Plays MMA this week, we've got our UFC 319 predictions. Our best bets are coming out in the next couple of days. We've got our PFL Davis versus Rabadanov full card predictions in the lightweight division. Make sure to go check out all of those. They're linked in the description down below. We move on now to the first of our 5 fights tonight on the Contender Series. We kick things... Oh, main channel Greedo Plays, daily MLB best bets, college football soon. Okay. First prediction, excuse me, of the video. We move to a matchup in the middleweight division. We have got Murtaza Talha taking on Baysangar Susurkaev from Chechnya, Russia. This is a good one. You got Talha, who's 7-1 professionally from Brahin, the country of Brahin. Susurkaev from Chechnya, Russia. This is a guy who has fought an ACA in the past. He's 4-0 over there. And this is a guy who can put your lights out. Everything I have seen out of Susurkaev is crazy power. And he's coming off winning Fury FC as well. He went over to Fury. He was a -800 favorite, beat a 4-1 fighter, a 4-1 Georgian fighter by second round TKO. This guy's nasty, I'm telling you. Every single fight with the exception of one, which was 2 fights ago for Susurkaev, has been won by knockout. And 6 out of those 7 knockouts came in the very first round. This is an all-action type of guy who's got heavy hands, and he's looking to put your lights out. He is fit exactly for Dana White's Contender Series. You know the name of the game with the Contender Series. Looking for finishes and looking for guys that wow Dana White. Dana says it all the time. He prefers, for the most part, there's the exceptions like Bo Nickel and Greg Hardy and Sean O'Malley. But there are times, and Dana White says he does this, almost every single night, he doesn't know a single thing about these fighters because he wants to be impressed on the night of the Contender. Guys like Susurkaev are built for this because he's going to go out there, he's going to try to knock your head off, and probably he'll be successful. He's taking on Talha here, who is 7-1 professionally. You know his one fight, though, that he lost, and that's Adolfo Bellado on the Contender Series in 2023. And I think it's a very important thing to realize what fighters have done since their first Contender Series spot. We're going to see another fighter up next in Yuri Panferov, who has lost on the Contender Series in the past as well. And I think it's appropriate that we look at what these guys have done since losing on the Contender. Because you can take what Talha has done on the regional scene prior to the Contender Series in his first appearance with a grain of salt. Because now, everything he has done prior to the Contender Series, that's in 2021. That's in 2022. He lost to Bellado, and he's fought once since. He lost to Bellado, got finished in the second round by TKO, and he's got one fight in February of this year where he beat an 0-4 Oleg Klimov, and that bout has been flagged on Tapology for there's something wrong with that. I clicked on this dude's Tapology page, Oleg Klimov. His picture's scary, man. That startled me. Oh my goodness. Anyways, yeah, you beat an 0-4 guy and Tapology flags your fight for being illegitimate? And you expect me to pick you in a fight in the Contender Series? How did he even get back on? I mean, you would think you would have to win more than one fight against a guy who's 0-4 to get another shot. If Bellado's finishing you, I believe Susurkaev's going to finish him as well. Bellado in the UFC, he's 1-0-1, but this is the same guy who faked being knocked out with an up kick against Paul Craig. Or with an illegal shot by Paul Craig. Come on now. Like, come on. Right? Like, I can't treat Bellotto. Oh, it was an up kick. I can't treat Bellotto serious. Okay? I can't take him seriously. And Talha got knocked out by Bellotto, and he's been an 0-4 guy since. Doesn't move me. Susurkaev, what is he doing? He's going to Fury FC and he's winning fights, right? Susurkaev and Talha's last fights, both of them, were a week apart. Susurkaev beat a guy who was 4-1 in Fury FC, and Talha beat a guy who was 0-4 in a promotion called BFC in Belarus. I'm not moved. I'm taking the favorite here. Susurkaev is the reason he's a big favorite in this one. Minus 300, I believe. Basingar Susurkaev is going to go out there, and I think he's going to win a contract with a first-round knockout. So not am I only just going to be predicting winners on this card, I'm going to be predicting who's going to get contracts as well. So I'm going to go Basingar Susurkaev by first-round knockout. He is well-equipped to earn a contract on the Contender Series. He's the type of guy Dana White would want, I believe, and he's from Chechnya. You know, the UFC is always looking to expand in that market. I'm taking first-round knockout for Susurkaev, and I believe 100% he's going to get a contract tonight. I don't think Talha's that good, and he hasn't fought a real fighter in 2 years. Not moved. To our next fight, let's stay in the middleweight division as we've got Christopher Ewert taking on Yuri Panferov. If you remember, Christopher Ewert has actually, technically signed with the UFC, but then immediately got cut. And I didn't know if they were going to move Ewert back to this spot. So if you remember, Christopher Ewert originally was booked on the Contender Series against Yuri Panferov. Okay. They pull him from the Contender Series so he can fight Jackson McVeigh, who was originally supposed to fight Susurkaev Dumas. Dumas couldn't get his ankle monitor off. I don't know if that was real or not, but I guess that was going around. I don't know. Anyways, it was supposed to be Jackson McVeigh versus Susurkaev Dumas. Dumas pulls out, so they instead book Christopher Ewert against Jackson McVeigh. Well, Ewert misses weight by about 12 pounds or something like that at UFC 317. I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but it was a bad miss. UFC says, okay, we're just going to cut you. And they booked Jackson McVeigh against Bruno Ferreira, the next pay-per-view at UFC 318. McVeigh ends up losing. I'm sure he will definitely get another opportunity in the UFC. So they cut Ewert, and I didn't know if they were going to rebook him on the Contender. They do exactly that. They give Ewert his shot back on the Contender Series to work his way in or onto the UFC roster. This is a case where, again, Dana knows who Christopher Ewert is. He was booked on a card for him at one point in time. Now he has to work his way back in the UFC. And I think it's fair. He missed weight really badly at 185 pounds. He's back fighting at 185. He made weight for this card. He's 186. He weighed in yesterday, obviously. I think you can just credit him not making weight against McVeigh to took the fight on like a week's notice. Not even. Took it on like 5 days notice. He gets Yuri Panferov here. Okay. Yuri Panferov, I've watched Yuri Panferov fight. I'm not impressed. I'm just not, I don't want to be harsh, but I'm going to call it how it is. I'm not impressed with Yuri Panferov. He was one of Torres Finney's 3 wins on the Contender Series, and it was not the one that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. It was Torres Finney's first win in the Contender that Panferov was. Finney ended up beating Rouston and then Abdullah Arami to eventually get a shot in the UFC. And that's gone great, hasn't it? Yeah, great fights. Anyways, Panferov, since losing to Torres Finney in 2023 in the Contender, beat Rocky Edwards in CES and beat Hamzat Bestayev by TKO. Back-to-back TKO victories over guys who aren't that great. Now, I'll tell you what Panferov's thing is for the most part. Yeah, he'll strike a little bit. His thing's ground and pound. He's going to try to wrestle you, and he's going to try to finish you on the mat. And that's why it was actually impressive that Torres Finney did what he did, because Panferov, again, that is his game. I got to watch Panferov on Combat Zone. It was Dana White looking for a fight, and sure, you don't get to see the entire fight for that. But Panferov beat a guy pretty easily by first-round submission. Again, Combat Zone, just a promotion for me, and he beat a guy who's 4-4. He was a pretty big can crusher until he got the shot against Torres Finney, and he's beaten a 12-10 Rocky Edwards and an 11-7 Hamzat Bestayev since. Christopher Ewert does not have the best regional record either, but I like his stuff way better than Panferov. And I think once Ewert stuffs that takedown for Panferov, I believe it's going to be a long night in the office for Yuri. I think that Christopher Ewert has the better striking skills. I think he hits harder than Yuri Panferov as well. And I'm not really going to take into account, like, the weight issues in the last bout against McVeigh, because, again, we've already seen him make weight for this bout against Yuri Panferov. He looked fine on the scales, made it at 186. I think it's a tale of two styles in this bout. I think Panferov is going to be the one aggressing, or looking for the takedown, trying to, again, get the fight down to the mat, while at the same time, I believe Ewert's going to look to strike. I'm going to go with the fighter training out of Chile. I'm going to go with the Chilean and Christopher Ewert to outstrike Yuri Panferov after he stuffs a couple takedowns, and eventually I believe Christopher Ewert is going to get that win. We've seen Panferov lose in the Contender Series before, and he does not have the striking, I believe, to contend with a guy like Ewert. I'm going second round TKO finish for Christopher Ewert. Or is it first? Should I go first? I'm going to go second because I believe the first round is going to be a lot of missed takedown attempts for Panferov, and eventually, again, this fight's going to continue to go on, and Ewert's only going to continue to take over. So it's going to be Christopher Ewert here by second round TKO to beat the Russian, now training out of North Haven, Connecticut. I'm going Ewert to win over Yuri Panferov, second round TKO. Our third fight of the night comes in the welterweight division, as we have got Jimmy Drago taking on Ty Miller, excuse me. Two American-born fighters, Drago fighting out of New York, Miller fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ty Miller's a huge welterweight. He is. The guy's 6'2", borderline 6'3", 5-0 professionally, taking on 7-2 Drago. Both guys, oddly enough, coming off of no contests. Ty Miller's coming off of a no contest in LFA in December of 2024 as an accidental eye poke. And Jimmy Drago's coming off a no contest. It was an accidental clash of heads in CFFC in March of this year. Both of these guys, in Drago and Miller, were huge favorites in their last bouts. Drago's minus 550, Miller's minus 420. Both those fights, again, never end up materializing, or they end, obviously, in the middle of the fight. Drago is the former Ring of Combat champion. I don't believe he still has that. He, moved on to CFFC, and obviously CFFC is, a higher regard. Well, it's higher regarded than, Ring of Combat. But Drago was the champion over there in Ring of Combat. Beat a 5-0 Alonzo Turner to win the championship. Alonzo Turner isn't horrible. Lost his last fight to Tyler Veal. Was the guy that we were looking at a little bit in CFFC a long time ago, like a year ago. But anyways, I guess 2 years ago now. But Drago's losses are to Itzo Babaladize. I believe that's how you say his name. Why did I think he was going to be on the Contender this year? I don't know why I thought he was. PFL fighter in Itzo from Georgia. I believe he's still signed to the PFL. That's not a bad loss from Drago. And then his first ever fight back in 2019. I don't put much into that. I do believe more in Ty Miller, though, personally. I think everything I've seen out of Miller, really great striking game. Again, has a huge reach for 170 pounds. I mean, this is just a long, lanky guy for 170 pounds. And he just is, I believe, a stylistic, difficult fight for Drago. Because we're going to see striking here. We are. I don't think either of these guys are going to look to shoot, personally. I believe Ty Miller is going to be more than, comfortable striking with Drago. I think Drago, again, is a guy who is primarily a striker, wants to keep the fight on the feet. He's trying to push pace. And again, it's a Contender Series bout. I don't think either of these guys are going to be looking to shoot on legs. I think we see a really entertaining fight. The way I see this one playing out, though, Ty Miller, he's got nice combos, and he can put you away, but for the most part, I do believe this one's going to go the distance, and I think this one is going to see the scorecards, but I believe this is going to be one of these really entertaining, back and forth wars. That's what this has the makings out to be, in my opinion. One of those fights where, all right, fight's over, Dana White's standing on his feet, he's clapping at his desk, and, the winner of this fight's going to get a contract, and it's going to be one of those bouts where Dana goes back to the back, or, he does the whole contract awarding ceremony at the end, and he says, I'm impressed with Ty, but I think Jimmy, I'm going to give him another shot, either later in the season, or, if you win a couple of fights, you'll be back in 2026. That's kind of how I feel this fight's going to go, because I don't think either guy has the power to put the other one out. Like, yeah, again, there's a possibility, obviously. It's a mixed martial arts fight. Jimmy Drago, I guess, probably has more potential of a knockout, but I don't know. I just don't see the knockout happening. I believe Ty Miller is just slightly better. I think the reach advantage that he's going to have on Drago and the height advantage, albeit 3 inches, is going to play a difference. Again, Ty Miller is just huge for 170 pounds. He's the younger fighter. He's 5 years younger than Drago. He's 25. I believe he's going to give Drago a lot of trouble in this bout. I just think so. Ty Miller is still very green. He's 5-0, and he's still evolving as a mixed martial arts fighter. I completely understand that. I think he's going to get the better, though, of Drago in this one. I do believe he's going to win a decision. Again, this has all the makings of being a really fun fight. I don't know what the over-under prop is on this one, but I would expect it to go over. It's probably 2.5. But we are going to go with the American training out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. No, not Jackson Wink. Out of Fit NHB Gym, give me Ty Miller by unanimous decision over Jimmy Drago. Okay, On to our next fight in the featherweight division. This might be the toughest one to pick on. Oh, not this one. This might be the toughest fight to pick on the entire card. But I don't think it is. It is, but it's not. No, it is. It definitely is the toughest fight to pick on the card. It might be the last one with Jimmy and Ty Miller. It could be this one, though. Radley De Silva taking on George Mangos in the featherweight division. De Silva, a fighter training out of Vancouver, British Columbia, 7-1 professionally, 30 years of age. George Mangos, 7-0. He's 21 years of age, and he's the Hex champion over there in Australia. So, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this one. I don't claim to be a huge expert of Australian MMA, but I do believe this is the case. There are two major promotions in Australia. It's Hex and it's Eternal. I believe Hex is a little bit bigger. I think. I could be wrong there. But from what I've gotten, I believe Hex is the slightly bigger one. I think. What was when Jack Della came from? I don't know. Because it's one of the two. Because every big prospect from over there, from the Oceanic region, you fight in Eternal or Hex. Jack Della was Eternal. Maybe I'm wrong. It's the other way around. Regardless, all I know is that Eternal and Hex are both of those are pretty big promotions in Australia, okay? If you could be the champion either Hex or Eternal, you're a big deal, okay? George Mangos was the champion, or is the champion still in Hex, at 21 years of age. He made his professional mixed martial arts debut in 2023 at 19 years of age. He had his first fight in Beatdown Promotions, won 2 fights in Eternal MMA, and then moved on to Hex, where he's 4-0 in his first fight in Hex. He fought a 13-5 champion. He won the championship. He's defended it 3 times since, I believe. He's defended it 3 times since. Won his last fight by first round knockout in 34 seconds. Beat a guy by head kick in 87 seconds in the fight prior. This is a guy who's going to go out there and try to finish you, and he has premium finishing potential at 145 pounds. His opponent is Radley De Silva. Snake Eyes, Radley De Silva. He's coming out the BFL promotion over in Canada, Battlefield Fight League. He's the champion over there. He's working on 4 consecutive title fight victories over there as the reigning BFL featherweight champ. Albeit, against decent guys, beat a 6-0 Drake Randall for the championship, who had fought nothing but cans up until that point. Beat a 19-9 Drew Brokenshire, who was 39 years of age. Oh, yeah, here's the thing, guys. And I'm not going to sell you on the fact that I think Australian regional MMA and just Australian MMA in general is the best. But here's the thing. This is not me being just opposed to a country, because I have nothing against the country of Canada, the future 51st state. I'm joking. Am I? I don't know. No, I have nothing against Canada. Canada's regional MMA sucks. Just gonna be honest. There's a reason Canada has not had a world champion since Georges St. Pierre. Olivier Aben-Mercier is the closest thing to that. I'm talking world champion in the UFC. OAM legitimately since GSP is probably the best fighter. I'm not even joking. It has to be. Yeah, OAM's the number 2 Canadian fighter since Georges St. Pierre. Nothing against OAM. That just goes to show what Canada's had since. Mike Malott is looked at as like, oh, he's the Canadian super prospect right now. Exactly, right? That's not being, I'm not going to completely hold that against Radley De Silva, but at the same time, Radley De Silva, yeah, you've looked good. You're the Battlefield champion. I can't trust a Canadian product. I remember when KB Buller got put into the UFC. He looked great in United Fight League. He comes in and he's horrible in the UFC. He looked like one of the worst fighters in UFC history. Right? And then he goes back to the regional scene in Canada and he starts winning fights again just because Canadian regional MMA sucks. It just does. I hate to say it. Like Jasmine Jasdavidius, she's probably actually the number 1 Canadian fighter in the UFC right now. She has to be. She's the closest Canada is to gold right now. And will Jasdavidius win the belt? Very unlikely. So I can't really trust the Radley De Silva victories. You look good in Canada. You're spitting wheel kicking guys. It's great. You're getting submissions. You have a good rear naked choke. You got a good squeeze. You're beating no names in Canada. George Mangos, again, I know the guys that he's beating in Australia. Some of these guys aren't the highest of levels. But you're winning belts in Hex. You're winning in Eternal MMA. You're taking on guys. He fought Sochiomi Tomita, a guy from Pancrase, comes over to Hex, and Mangos head kicks him in 87 seconds. This guy flying triangle choked somebody. So at the same time, again, is this a hard pick? Maybe, considering the rest of the fights, I feel like I think the Ty Miller fight's harder to pick. But ultimately, when you break this fight down, you really dive deep into what Rally De Silva's been and what George Mangos has done so far. Oh, the fight's really not that close. It's really not. George Mangos will have this fight where he wants it. I believe it's via the knockout. I'm going first round knockout for George Mangos. Again, I cannot trust the Canadian regional MMA product, and everything I've seen out of Mangos shows me that he is legit. He is the real deal. I'm going Mangos to win by first round knockout. He will get the UFC contract. By the way, Ty Miller will get a UFC contract, and Chris Ewert will get a UFC contract as well. I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's a lot of contracts. Well, you know the Contender Series works now. It's not 2018 anymore, where Chris Curtis and Kevin Holland are getting denied contracts. It doesn't work like that anymore. Let's go on to the main event of the Contender Series this week. Back in the middleweight division, the third middleweight fight of the night. Ilian Bouafia takes on Nemes Santana in the main event. Bouafia from France, 28 years of age. The guy's huge. He's 6'5", 185. Taking on Nemes Santana. There are just fights that the UFC puts on for the Contender Series where it's just, it's not to the same degree as, I'll give you an example. Chidi Njokuani, when he fought in the Contender Series, it was just like, all right, why is Chidi on here? We know he's a UFC caliber guy. Why is he here? And this is not the same extent, obviously, with Bouafia and Santana. But there are fights that are kind of set up in the Contender Series to just get a guy in the UFC. There are those fights. I'm not telling you Bouafia is going to like even see the level of success that Njokuani's had in his career, because I'll say some stuff about Bouafia in a second. This fight's built for him to win. It just is. He's huge. He's 6'5", 185 from France. Nemes Santana, he won a fight in LFA in his last one, beat a 5-0-1 guy. Other than that, he does not have another good victory. I mean, he's been fighting in random regionals. He's fighting 0-0 guys, losing to 1-0 fighters in Jungle Fight. Not impressed. I'm not impressed. Has knockout power, but everyone hits hard. You know, like, it's what you do with that. Like, yeah, you can get by in the regional scene, and, you know, in heavyweight, you can get by all the way into the top 5 like this, but, in the regional scene, you can get away with just, you hit really hard, you're able to take a punch somewhat, and you can just put a guy's lights out, and you can take a punch at the same time. Oh, and you can stop takedowns? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to put yourself at a 6-0 record in the regional scene, you know? But to make that next step, to win in the Contender Series, to make it into the Ultimate Fighting Championship, you need more than just power. Now, here's the thing about Ilian Bouafia. I think he'll win, because I do believe the fight tonight is really set up for him to get this victory, and I think it is set up for him to win by first round knockout. However, if there is a guy, I'm so serious, that doesn't get the contract, it's going to be Bouafia, because I think there is a very possible chance that he is severely underwhelming in this bout. Really underwhelming. I've watched a lot of Bouafia. I watched his tape. He's impressive, don't get me wrong, and he throws a lot of stuff. He's quick. He shoots a nice takedown when he needs it, like he did in a hexagon fight. He throws hard. He's got power. He's a long, lanky dude. He's 6'5", 185 pounds. I don't know how he makes this weight. I don't think he's that good. I think he's good enough to beat Nemes Santana. I'm telling you, though, and maybe I'm wrong, Bouafia gets in the UFC. If they just send Bouafia, who's 28, and he's only at 6 fights at 28, if they send him immediately against a half-decent fighter at 185 pounds, I believe he's going to lose. I believe so. This is a guy, too, who's been fighting at 205 pounds recently and has fought at 195 as well, which I guess is super middleweight. I think that's what they call it. I don't know. He's been fighting at 195 and 205 recently. He's cutting all the way down to 185 in this fight. So again, is he set up to win, and will he win? Yes, probably. Am I confident, though? No, I'm not in Ilian Bouafia. So I watched Ilian Bouafia fight, God, what was his name? Federico Comihana on Hexagon. Okay, I'm telling you, that's the biggest can crusher one I've ever seen. This guy that he beats is a 5-2 guy from the Czech Republic. His record, I don't know how he's 5-2. He's beat nothing but 0-0 guys. He's a fat middleweight who realistically, if he went on a cut, he could probably make 155 pounds. Sorry, the fight's at 195. So he beats a fat 195 or 205. No, yeah, it was a 195 bout. And he just dominates the guy. Immediately takes him down. The guy's got no ground game. He just gives up his back and, okay, it's ground pound victory over. Fight over. I think Bouafia is a can crusher. I think he's good enough to beat Nima Santana because I don't think Santana has really what it takes. Yeah, he throws hard. Other than that, I'm not really impressed with him. He's just, I don't know. He won an LFA, sure, I'll give him that. I don't love the stuff, and I think Ilian Bouafia is better than him. But again, I think once Ilian Bouafia gets in the UFC and fights better guys, I think he's gonna lose. Like if they give him an entry-level fight in the UFC of let's see, who's the guy that would be kind of difficult for him? I would say Atiba Gutierrez, but definitely Atiba Gutierrez is getting Ozzy Diaz next. Oh hell yeah, that's fire. Oh yes, I saw that. That's fire. Yeah, Atiba Gutierrez need to promote that guy. If they give Bouafia in his first fight, they give him a half decent guy. They give him like a, I don't know who could beat him, who's not that high level, but like kind of high level enough. If they give him a Bruno Ferreira, he'll lose. I know Ferreira has won back-to-back, but if they give him like okay, they're not going to give him Marco Tulio. If they give him Andre Petroski, I'm probably taking Petroski. I know. Yeah, I would take Petroski. He'd probably be Mansour Abdul Malik. But like, I don't think he's all that great. I think he looks good because he's beating bad guys, and I think he'll look good against Santana. I'm not impressed, though. He's beating cans, and he's dominating cans. Last fight was in winning Aries. That's great. But again, I just don't love the all-around body of work. Okay? I think he'll win. So, as I conclude here, who's most likely to get a contract on this card? I'm going to rank him because, like, DC or whoever's, Bisping, DC, Dominic Cruz, whoever, Paul Felder, who's ever doing color commentary for this card, they'll tell you their rankings for who's most likely to get a contract before Dana White hands out the contract. They do it before the main event. I'll just do it right now with all 5 of the winners, I believe. Number 1 most likely to get the contract for me is going to be Basingar Susurkaev. I like what he's got. He's got heavy hands. He's gonna look really good against Talha. Yeah, he's gonna get the contract. He's number 1. Number 2 for me is going to be George Mangos. I think, again, this is a 21-year-old fighter who should look really impressive against a Canadian who's probably not in his level. Give me George Mangos at 2. 3, I'm going to go Ilian Bouafia just because he's going to look impressive. Because I don't think Santana's all that great. And Bouafia is 6 inches taller than him. So give me Bouafia at 3. 4, I'll probably go Ty Miller. I think it's going to be a fun back-and-forth fight that he wins. I think it's going to be an all-action type fight, one of those really entertaining Contender Series bouts that Miller's going to get the edge on. And then 5, Christopher Ewert, for the sole fact that, okay, he already missed weight, he got a shot in the UFC, never got to fight for them, and it's going to be hard for him to crack back in. I do believe all 5 of these winners are going to get contracts, and I think Jimmy Drago is going to have an impressive loss, just because that's how the contenders work now. I think the contender works. All 5 guys are going to get contracts. I believe that he's going to set a precedent on this card like he did last year, and I believe the last 2 years had all 5 contract winners in the first week. And yeah, I think that's how we approach this week 1 Dana White's Contender Series card. 4 finishes and 1 impressive decision victory for Ty Miller. So folks, thank y'all for watching our week 1 Dana White's Contender Series predictions here on the channel. If you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.